Hi, Libby. Oh,
Hi,
you're
how
on mute.
are
There
you?
you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. It's been a full-on day today.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Very glad it's Friday, the weekend's to come.
Oh.
So, okay, I'll run down these questions then. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and your career.
So I was working as deputy manager for a hotel and restaurant chain, and I worked for them. I think I must have been 16 when I started, so it was my part-time
Oh,
job,
wow.
and I worked my way up almost to the top. So I was deputy manager, and I was working really long hours, and I think there was a succession of double shifts. And as deputy manager, I was salaried, so I wasn't paid for it. And I was just asked to do another double shift. I was exhausted. I just said no, and I quit.
Oh, wow.
I think I gave them about 10 days notice, and very quickly had to find myself another job. I think I must have been around 22. I had a mortgage, and I had to find something to replace that income pretty quickly. So I took an entry-level office job. I think I halved my salary. My mum and dad helped me out for, I don't know, it was at least a year to pay the mortgage. And and then as I worked my way up, I was doing filing, faxing, photocopying, and then I gradually built my way up. So I started doing some sales ledger, purchase ledger, and then I sort of went to another job. I was doing some credit control, and then I went up and up, and then I was offered a job working for quite a large business. We had 7 limited companies, and I was asked to cover for the group accountant when she was on maternity leave.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had 3 months to learn everything. And so that was 91 sets of management accounts a year,
Wow.
effectively. So everything I had to learn: prepayments and accruals, depreciation, profit and loss, balance sheet, doing a commentary, and payroll as well. So 91 sets of payroll a year, year-end stuff,
Wow.
just everything. And it was, I mean, talk about being thrown in at the deep end, but I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I learned so much doing that job, and I worked for them for 7 years. And the only reason I left was because by the time I finished, I'd got married, had 2 children, and we were moving to another part of the country. So I didn't really have any option
Wow.
to leave. But yeah, it
That's
was
incredible.
hard. Yeah, even I think back now and think I'm not sure how I managed to learn it so quickly. But I suppose when you're really determined and you're really keen, anything's possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what then made you choose to do the AAT over, say, the likes of ATT, so Association of Tax Technicians, or going straight into the likes of CIMA or ACCA?
Um, I think at the time AAT was relatively new, and it was already well respected. It was a proper educational qualification. I think there was funding for it at the time as well, so you could study at college. But it was a sort of a middle ground really between being unqualified and covering something like CIMA, ACCA, ATT, which I think is much more of a specialism. It's like a stepping stone really between the two of them, and for me that was the right decision. I suppose at that point my career could have gone in a different direction. So yeah, well respected. It's a known qualification. It still is, obviously. And I think it was just something that I could be proud of. It also gave me exemptions from the first level of CIMA, the first level of ACCA. So the time spent, you could spend 3 years doing AAT, you come out with a qualification, a really decent qualification, and then you can skip some of the other qualifications and just go in a little bit higher up. As it is, I've left a bit of a gap, and I'm now at the point where I was going to study ACCA. There were some issues there are issues with getting a bookkeeping or accountancy license with ACCA, and it's really very, very hard work. to get your license with ACCA, and a lot of people are opting for AAT or for ICB as well.
Absolutely.
So that actually put me off, because I couldn't, if I was studying with ACCA, which I started doing, and then started setting up my business, it meant that there were a lot of restrictions on what I could offer in my practice. And actually, in some ways, I think that might be a bad move for ACCA. I understand, you know, they're guarding their qualification, and, you know, they are good, but
Yeah.
they're preventing people from actually getting that experience and setting up a business. So a lot of people are actually fully qualified with ACCA, and then they've dropped it completely and they've gone somewhere else to get their license. So that was, I actually started ACCA and then I swapped to CIMA. And now, because I've had a little bit of a gap since I've been studying, and because of the way that CIMA is structured, I think I'm going to have to do some of those qualifications again, because you've got an end of level module which covers the 3 different pillars, and I think that I'm going to struggle to do the end of the end exam, because I haven't studied for so long. So I've only actually got to take one of the qualifications to do the end of level, but I think I'm going to have to do 3 more qualifications just to refresh everything again. So I think I may be putting it off a little bit at the moment. I will get back to it.
There's always January, your New Year's resolutions. So
yeah, okay, I'll put that in.
So what did you enjoy then about studying the AAT?
Well, I mean, more than anything, going to college. I've done a lot of studying independently. I did a degree with the Open University in business studies with accounting, and I finished that in, I think it was 2017, might have been 2016. And you feel very isolated. It's quite difficult to bond with the other students. I mean, I'm quite chatty, I'm a real people person, so I don't find it too difficult. And I actually got real life friends that I actually met physically while I was doing the degree and afterwards. But when you're sent the books, you're given the assignments, you get on with it. And it can be quite difficult to motivate yourself. And I think that the thing I loved most about doing my AAT was that I went to a local college, I met with people, we chatted, I love the coffee. We had a Costa and a Starbucks at the college.
Yep.
So, that was good. And I've stayed friends. I've got a group of friends now and particularly 2 really special friends that I meet up with quite often. And it's having that support. It's times when things feel really impossible, either life gets in the way, or maybe you doubt yourself, or you think that you've done enough preparation for an exam, and then you do the practice exams and you find you're really, really struggling with it. It's those times when having a really good support network, people that are going through the same thing as you, they're just there to, we were all there to support each other. I loved helping them in class. So quite often, because I think as well, because I worked in accounts, and because of the degree, my knowledge was actually quite good. So there were some bits that I was really able to help them explain it in a different way and just support them. And then equally, there were times when I needed their support, and it was just fantastic. I loved it. I miss going to college, actually. I'd quite like to go back.
No, I can resonate, because it was like, for me, it was close to a decade ago now. But I was in a college, and the people there, they were just so nice. Everybody was there to learn. Everybody was helping each other. If there's something you didn't understand, somebody would understand. And they'd always take the time to help you.
Yeah.
Equally, it was nice being able to give that back a bit. So then, are there any things that you would have done differently?
I think probably I should have done it earlier. I think I left it too late. I mean, there were reasons for that at the time. And the funding for AAT was withdrawn. And at one point I couldn't find the money to study. And then they brought in the adult learner loan and I signed up with that, and I'm still paying it back. I may be paying it back for the next 30 years, but that gave me the opportunity to get on with it. And yeah, so I suppose ideally I would have done it earlier. I think if I'd known more about the sort of day-to-day routine that you would have in a job, so in terms of more about the difference between working in practice and working in industry, more about the difference between financial accounting and management accounting, actually talk to people who are doing that work day to day, to actually, what is a normal day like? Like, nobody talks about that stuff, you know.
No,
and,
they don't.
and maybe if I'd known a bit more about that, that would have helped me to decide which qualification might have been best for me. But you know, no regrets. Life is as it is, and you know, you have to make the best of it. And I'm, you know, pretty happy. I love bookkeeping. I love accountancy. I'm happiest when I'm helping people, and I do more than plug figures into software. Always, it's about supporting people in whatever way you can. And when I'm doing the bookkeeping part and the nitty gritty and actually, you know, entering the figures, I'm not just taking something that's on an invoice and sticking it on a screen. I'm thinking about, is this the best choice for this business? Could they be doing it more cheaply? Are they getting value for money? And that is, oh, I love it. I mean, that's where I love, and that's why I want to pursue just working for myself rather than this mix of being employed and being self-employed, because when you're self-employed, you can choose who you want to work with, and you know, and for me, it's about getting to know those clients. What can I do to support them, and how can I help them achieve their business goals and their personal goals?
I think that's a very interesting insight, because again, I've done a few videos on the channel about my day-to-day life, but that's only one aspect. And if you're working in, you know, management accounting or financial reporting, that's two very different jobs, and it's difficult to explain what you do in a day because every day changes.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can have a plan for the day and that goes out the window by 9 a.m. because
Always
something's happened. And you need to deal with it. So just trying to explain that to individuals looking to study, yeah, it's quite difficult. But the way that you've explained it there, I think gives a little bit more background. So I think you've explained it better than I can.
Very much.
So okay, so then I think we've kind of touched on this one a little bit, about the, you know, the next question is really, what would you tell yourself if you could go back 5 years? But I have another question if you want to answer that instead, or you can answer both questions.
I can do both. Yeah, let's do both.
So shall we go with
5 years? I think I'd probably have to go back more than 5 years, Rebecca. I don't think 5 years would be enough. Well, I think just believe in yourself, you know, and surround yourself with the right people. Find your support group, whether it's, you know, some people, their family are really supportive and, you know, they're really lucky to have that. If you haven't got that, don't suffer in silence. Find your support group, because it all feels so much better after that. I think work hard and don't give up. There are times when you need to give yourself a break. There are times when we're so hard on ourselves, and you know, life can get in the way for all sorts of different reasons. And I think, you know, being too tough on yourself is not a good thing. But when life's okay, work hard. I always used to say, I still say, actually, failure is not an option. So if I have an exam booked, I'm going to pass that exam, and that's it. You know, the time, the cost of my time, if I fail and have to resit, the financial cost is not going to happen. I will find the time to make sure that happens. I think if you can book your exams in advance as well, or be accountable to someone, booking your exams in advance is, you know,
you've got that goal then in mind, and that, well, okay, well, I have to do revision tonight because in 4 weeks time that exam's not going to sit itself.
Absolutely. If you don't have someone or something to be accountable to, you can put it off indefinitely. If you haven't seen it, look up TED Talks.
Oh, TED Talks.
The Panic Monster.
The Panic
Monster. I've watched that over and over and over. It's just absolutely brilliant, and it's so true. So I would definitely recommend that. I don't know what else would I do if I went back 5 years. I don't know. I think I'd just, like say, no regrets. Just.
Okay, so then what tips would you give to somebody who's looking to study the AAT then, or what advice would you give to somebody?
I think depends on your experience for starters. So I will love this. I having had all this experience, I went to college and I chatted to the tutor before the course had started, before the summer holidays, and I told her what I'd done. And she said, well, why don't you sit? You can do a test, can't you, on AAT to see which level they recommend you should go in at. So I started doing the test, but of course, it's a bit like driving a car. If somebody says to you, which one's the brake and which one's the accelerator, I don't know. You just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the minute I have to think about which one's the brake, you can guarantee I wouldn't. I probably put my foot on the wrong one. I'm a good driver, honestly. So it's a bit like that. You are so used to actually doing the process that when you suddenly are faced with a test situation where it says like, how do you post a sales invoice? What are the debits? What are the credits? What's the process? My brain just went, I don't know. and it said that I should start at level 2. And I didn't want to start at level 2 because I knew that I'd be bored because I knew too much to start level 2. So the tutor very kindly gave me the level 2 books. I think it was bookkeeping transactions, and said, go away over the summer, read those, have a refresher, come back, I'll see you level 3 in September. So
that's so nice.
It was lovely. And she obviously had faith in me. I went back in September and, I didn't fail anything. I loved it. And of course, as soon as you start doing it, you get up to speed very quickly. But equally, if you need to start at level 2, start at level 2. It's the underpinning of the whole course. It's like T accounts, some people just really struggle to pick that up and understand it. You need to be able to understand it. If you don't understand it first time, don't beat yourself up. You keep going and you keep going. You learn the rest of the stuff and you go back until you've got that. And that it's like the foundation. It's like building a house. You can't build a house without the foundations. So start, really get to grips with that, with the basics, and then you can build on that. And
Absolutely.
It's an amazing qualification. Well, you can see from behind me, I've got all my certificates. I've got my AAT award, CPD Champion of the Year 2017.
Oh wow.
So it's worth doing. It's not easy. It's not easy, and that's why you need that network to support you. It really does make all the difference, because there are times when you'll sit at home doing your revision, you won't want to do your revision. There's always something more exciting that you can do. We can all find something more exciting, can't we? Yes. But it's so worth it. It really is worth it. And just go for it. What have you got to lose?
And I'll add to that, my house was never cleaner until I started my ACCA exams. That was it after that.
I had a new love for ironing.
And I actually started at level 2 myself, and it's strange because it depends on your employer as well. So the employer I had at the time was adamant that everybody started at level 2, so we didn't even have the choice to jump onto level 3. And I'd been to college, I'd done my A levels, I could have gone to university and decided no, I wanted to do the AAT. And when they said you've got to go in at level 2, I thought, but doesn't everybody start at level 3 if they've done A levels? And said no. Start at level 2, gain that knowledge, and level 3 you'll whiz through it. You've got the foundations, and then go to level 4. And I've never looked back. Yeah. Absolutely. Excellent. So there's definitely no shame in doing level 2 first.
No, not at all. I think because I was getting on a bit. I didn't want to hang around.
You'd been to university and done a very relevant degree, so
yeah.
It's a little bit different to somebody who's yeah, I didn't have any prior knowledge at all, none. And my A levels were things like I did history, I did French, German, so it wasn't relevant.
No, no, not terribly. Though
Yeah.
you could probably get a good job working abroad now, couldn't you?
I've forgotten all that by now. Well, okay. Well, so those are all the questions there. But is there anything that you'd like to add? Any other tips, guidance, just that you want to add? Yeah.
Well, first I'll give my my business a plug, just in case
Yeah.
any of your people want to have a quick look, just to find out a little bit more about me. It's the Ethical Bookkeeper.
I love that name.
And what else? What other tips would I just think, just go for it.
It's been absolutely lovely, a pleasure speaking to you and
Oh,
meeting
thank you
you.
so much, Rebecca. All the best.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, it's lovely talking to you too.
You too. Well, take
All
care of
right.
yourself. All
Have
right.
a nice weekend.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.